Dear students, welcome to the course Introduction to Metaphysics of Sanskrit Language. This is lecture 19. So, in the last lecture, I have already discussed the oral culture because we are actually understanding the summary of the course of all the units from 1 to 4 till 4th unit. Whatever we have understood that is being summarized here. So, the first point, that is oral culture. Indian tradition is dominant of the oral culture. I explained it. We discussed about it. Today we are going to discuss the next point, the language is communion with the self, because this is the basic, or you can say core concept of our course. Then centrality of the thought and language as the primary sciences. So, the language is communion with the self. I think this concept must be understood by you till now. It should be very clear as per my hope. ऐसा मुझे लगता है कि आपको समझ में आया है. Rest of the things are on you, because as much as you will put out your efforts to understand, you will understand that when you are in talk with yourself, then also there is the existence of the language. When there is no duality, no two entities are available, then also the bhasha, the function of bhasha actually is presented, or you can say the bhasha is functional at that point also when there is no duality. So, the language is not only a means of communication. Communication includes duality or multiplicity. Language is a kind or a stage, or you can say bhasha is a communion. Bhasha is communion with oneself also, because once you trespass the level of pad, that is going to create shabd, that means words, automatically you are moving to the subtler aspects, from pad to mantra, from mantra to varna. So, the journey from the gross to the subtle is available, and that has been discussed in Indian corpus elaborately. That's why language is not only a means of communication, it is communion with the self. This is the second summarized understanding or the essence of the discussion which is being done in this course. So, the language is not just a means of communication, rather it is communion with the self, because at the peak level there is none other than oneself. At the peak level, that duality vanishes. So, automatically there is no one except the consciousness itself in a non-dual state. Consciousness resides in its own form, possessing rest of all as its own extension at the ultimate level. So, basically at that point we have the understanding like shikharastha jnanavat. When we are standing at the top of a mountain and then we are seeing the reality present in the diversity or multiplication or multiplicity. So, shikharastha jnana means once you are standing at the topmost level, that is shikhar, peak point, then the knowledge would be unified and you will feel like everything which is now visible to you is just the extension of your own consciousness, because at that time you are realizing your own existence. So, at that level, extension of one's own consciousness is giving you the knowledge that the entity which is present inside of us, the same entity is residing out of us also, or in the rest of the available manifested entities also. That is something which is here giving us that extension of our own existence. So, what happens at that point? Right now, if the student sitting just in front of you or just beside you is having a pain, you won't be able to link yourself with that pain at this point, grossest state, जहाँ हम क्या है सिर्फ अपने पे फोकस्ड हैं. We are not at the peak level, we are not having the शिखरस्थ ज्ञान. So we cannot relate ourselves with the pain of other. So what is happening? Why it is happening? Because we are not able to consider the second entity as our own extension. But simultaneously, at the same stage, if you are, if a father is there at the job, or if a mother is there at the job, then also the pain or the anxiety or any kind of sufferings or any kind of need of the child will be getting reflected in those parents. Maybe they are in distance, they are not in proximity. So why it happens? Because they automatically, they are in a stage of considering that child as their own extension, or you can say the extension of their own existence or extension of their own consciousness. So they are able to relate the pain of the child and as the pain of their own. This is the level. And if you magnify the same thing, you are seated at that level when you are able to relate yourself with all the entities available in duality or multiplicity. You would be feeling or having the same bhav, that means the same experience of the feeling of continuation of existence in all the entities. So basically at that point you would be able to feel the pain of this chair, this table, all the entities which are available as a manifested entities, because you would be able to have an intelligence which will surpass the level of gross structures, or gross, you can say, superficial knowledge or relations, which we are right now confined. We are having as a confined state. We consider that हम अच्छे हैं, that's okay. ज़्यादा परेशान नहीं होना, ज़्यादा सोचना नहीं है. But at that point, each and every entity will be your own extension. So you would be having the bhavas of each of the entity as your own. And that's why at that level compassion dominates. किसी भी चीज़ के लिए बहुत करुणा रखना, हर चीज़ के लिए आप करुणाशील हो जाएंगे, compassionate हो जाएंगे. That is the level of शिखरस्थ ज्ञान. So those who have realized that level, they are compassionate enough to consider or to treat each and every entity present inside of them also as their, and present outside of them also as their own extension or as their own existence. Simple. So this is here mentioned that at that ultimate level, at that peak level, bhasha doesn't mean a means of communication. It becomes a stage when you are in communion with yourself. The phonemic energies in mantratmak form make resonance with oneself. I have explained how phonemic energies are appearing with respect, or you can say in relation to the tattva of manifestations. Different tattvas which are evolving during the manifestation process. Along with the tattvas, phonemic energies or varna also come into existence. So that's why I told you that example, that we can produce resonance inside of us. नाद हम अपने अंदर create कर लेते हैं, and in that stage you are able to resonate, to produce different phonemic energies or different sounds within yourself without even lip sync, without even uttering in vacary, through the vocal or cord, or you can say through the structure which is responsible or which is available to us for the pronunciation, that is our mouth. So basically phonemic energies are in mantratmak stage. They are forming resonance with oneself. That's why once you start you can say reciting any mantra, you become, your cognitive apparatus becomes sophisticated enough to resonate with the cosmic energy. It actually links you with the cosmic energy. So pind gets linked with the Brahmand with the help of the mantra, and mantra are the phonemic energies having the trick, that means Shiva, Shakti and Nar or Jiva. So Shiva is represented by Akara, Anuttara. Shiva, Shakti is represented by Hakara. Nar or Jeev is represented by Makara. So the first mantra becomes Aham. Universal mantra becomes Om. I have explained this thing. Language should not be seen as a physical entity only, it surpasses that level. So, in this course, what I try to give you, the essence of the course is that language is not और भाषा केवल फिजिकल एंटाइटी नहीं है जिसके केवल कुछ एस्पेक्ट्स स्टडी किए जाएं लाइक इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ एनर्जी it should be studied like a cluster of sounds or it is a kind of script, it should be studied like an artistic expressions. No, ये कोई फिजिकल एंटाइटी नहीं है, कोई म्यूजियम पीस नहीं है. भाषा इसीलिए डायनामिक है और लिविंग है क्योंकि उसमें क्षमता है चेतना की. One entity. Why I am giving this statement? Just like when we all have passed through this phase of COVID. What is happening right now? You try to prepare one vaccine for one strain. In the next moment or after a few days, what is happening? The strain is getting changed. The previous medicine, previous vaccine, the next strain is resistant to that. Why it is happening? Because that is a conscious entity, right? In the same way, bhasha is a conscious entity. It's a conscious ontological category. So, it is dynamic in nature. It cannot be kept into a museum and then can be read and understood. That's why the scriptural portion is not the dominating feature. In Indian tradition, we never stuck to the written version of bhasha. We were following the oral tradition just because of this, because we kept all the knowledge in the minds of the people, and minds of the people means the conscious entity. Whatever knowledge I have inside of me, I am presenting that to you. So, my knowledge is part of my existence. So, automatically it is dynamic, it is a living entity. So, भाषा एक म्यूजियम पीस नहीं है कि हम उसको कहीं आर्कियोलॉजिकल सर्वे में रख करके पढ़ते रहें और उसी तरह उसे स्टडी करते रहें. In the modern days, the practices which are focused to study the language, they either focus on that aspect which is available as a written expressions from different caves or different manuscripts. पांडुलिपि, that means पहले किस पाम के पत्तों पे और किस पे बहुत सारी चीज़ों पे जिस पे कुछ expressions engrave किए जाते थे. So, there were the method of engravation of different symbols or different artistic variations on different types of substance which were used as a form of paper, like we are having paper right now. So, those are available to us in the form of manuscripts. Other than that, different caves, mountains, rocks, underground minings, so many things are there from where we are getting so many expressions, artistic expressions, and they all are being studied. But that is not the only aspect, that is the physical aspect or that is the scriptural aspect which is very popular these days to be studied. But the original aspect of bhasha, that is the real entity, living entity, conscious entity, dynamic in nature, is missing. That's why in this course I try to explain you the actual metaphysical aspect of the bhasha, which is surpassing the physical level. The cosmic language denotes the vibrational state where pulsation to manifest the pre-existing entities starts. So, once you talk about the cosmic or the Brahmandiki bhasha, cosmic language means Brahmandiki bhasha. So, what happens, the cosmic language, that is Om, denotes the vibrational state. When pulsations or vibrations are available, they are manifesting the pre-existing entities. They are actually presenting the pre-existing entities, because along with the tattva, varna come. So, automatically once from a seed a plant is growing, automatically from that with the evolution, with the manifestation or with the appearance of the tattva, Varna are also appearing. So automatically Bhasha is becoming a part of manifestation through the pulsation or vibration principle, and that is why Kashmir Shaiva Darshan has one subsystem, that is Spanda Shastra. I explained this point. This rhythmic pattern of manifestation is nominated as a symbol, which is Om. I told you that if you are asked a question, ब्रह्मांड की भाषा क्या है, what is the language of cosmos, cosmic language क्या है, that is Om is the cosmic language. That's the highest possible level when we are able to relate the pind with the Brahmand. That means a confined structure, delimited form of consciousness to the grand possible structure or the ultimate state of consciousness. Now the most important point is silence. Silence is also having one language. मौन की भी भाषा है. And that's why when somebody is silent, you should be much more careful. ज़्यादा डरने की ज़रूरत तब है जब आपका कोई घनिष्ठ मित्र चुप हो जाए. Because silence is more audible than the words. So here, why it happens? Because automatically once you are entering into the state of pad, after pad, just like right now, I am using pad, words use कर रही हूँ. I am communicating to you, I am expressing you, I am trying to explain you through the use of words. This is gross state, Vaikhari state. If I kept silent, then I will be moving to the state of mantra. Contemplation में move कर जाऊंगी. That means अगर कोई आपसे बात नहीं कर रहा है, your good friend, you had a fight and now your friend is not talking to you. Contemplating within. This means he or she is contemplating within. अंदर ही रख ली है कोई बात ऐसी जो बहुत चुभ गई है. Some kind of words which are very harsh, which actually made the person to think more about communicating something to you, has made that person silent or has pushed that person to the contemplation or the state of contemplation. So basically silence is what is a higher stage, or you can say more powerful stage, where Vaikhari is not present. That's why silence is more powerful. And to be with oneself, that's needed. When we contemplate, we are silent. But at that stage, we are with oneself. अपने साथ होते हैं हम, अपने से बात कर रहे होते हैं, बगल वाले को नहीं बता रहे हैं. So we are with oneself. We need to shut the senses. Actually, we do the same thing. We stop talking to the person. बात नहीं करनी है, मतलब नहीं करनी है. I won't receive the phone calls. I won't talk to you. Everything is shut. So you have actually taken your senses back to yourself. आपने अपने इंद्रियों को बाहर से हटा लिया है. You have retraced yourself back to your own stage. So basically our senses are what? If you consider that this is the cane and here a lot of water is there, you make few pores, 5 senses, 5 actions. You make 5 pores for the senses, then 5 pores for the actions, and put the pipes from the pores. Then what is going to happen? You consider this cane as the consciousness, filled with the consciousness. This cane is your body and this water is your consciousness. These 5 pores having the pipes inserted, 5 senses, 5 actions. So basically what happens? This consciousness rushes out through the 5 senses and 5 actions. Along with that, manas is also there, which cannot be located as a physical entity, but it is also present to dissipate the energy available as a part of power of consciousness. So if you close these pores, remove the pipes or leave the pipes inserted, but you close the pores, your consciousness is not going to rush out. You are not going to dissipate the energy towards the external stimuli. then automatically the energy will be condensed within. अंदर ही इकट्ठा हो जाएगी. You would be focused on a single locus. So that is, we need to shut the senses. That is a state of contemplation. जब हम अपने इंद्रियों को बाहर से निकाल लेते हैं, बाहर की चीज़ों को नहीं रिसीव कर रहे हैं, and we go inward and then access the knowledge. Then we are having the practice of contemplating. We start contemplating. At deep meditative state, we vibrate with the vibrations of consciousness. So once you are in a deep meditative state, you reach to the that stage where the first vibration was supposed to start for manifesting everything. That is the highest or the peak level of realization. Unheard melody of cosmos is also a language. That's why if you make a habit of sleeping early like 10 or 10:30 or 11 and you wake up in the morning around 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock is supposed to the Brahma Muhurt. Why? Because the energy is in a very condensed state and easily accessible to us. We are able to link ourselves with that pulsating energy at that particular time in a very less effort. That's why it is understood. Like it's the time is not like if I say 4 o'clock, that may vary for different space or different places. Like for India, it will be different. For America, it will be different. But if I say that this is something which is having the beginning, that means 1 hour before, or you can say just beginning point, just before the sunrise, just sun appear hone lag jaye. So the appearance of the sun is the identifying factor. Just before that, whatever movements are there, that is something as Brahma Muhurta, and it is not related, or it's not spatio-temporal. ये स्पेस और टाइम के रिलेशन में नहीं है, बस सनलाइट से, ल्यूमिनोसिटी से रिलेशन रखता है. जस्ट लाइक आवर कॉन्शियसनेस इज ऑल्सो ल्यूमिनस. सो इन आवर सराउंडिंग, हु इज द ग्रैंडेस्ट पॉसिबल सोर्स ऑफ ल्यूमिनोसिटी? Sun. So in the same way, we consider that if the luminosity is not appearing or is going to appear, the first point just after which there would be appearance of the luminosity, that will be the Brahma Muhurta. In that state, the consciousness is at the highly condensed state. We can easily resonate with the cosmic energy. That is supposed to be the understood here, like unheard melody of cosmos. That is also a language. If you try to meditate at that particular stage, then automatically you would be able to listen to the naad which is automatically going on at the level of cosmos also. Just like you can create the resonance within yourself in the pind, in the same way, once you link with yourself with the cosmic energy, at that point also you can listen to the unheard melody of the cosmos. उसी भाषा पर नासा की रिसर्च हो रही थी, जो अब आपको बहुत हद तक गूगल पे अवेलेबल है. You can find out. In the modern sciences, whatever researches are being put right now, they are researching on the same thing, the language of the cosmos, or what possible Om sound, किस तरह का वो vibrational pattern show करता है. These are the researchers. This is the unheard melody of the cosmos, and it is present in us also because we are the part of Brahmand itself. So पिंड में जो ब्रह्मांड में है वही पिंड में है. If you realize the pind, you will be knowing the Brahmand. If you are able to realize whatever is available within yourself, that means you are able to know whatever is available in the cosmos or Brahmand. And it is present in us, but it is felt sometimes because we are dissipating energy through these pores. तो हम क्या करते हैं, हम इसमें लगे रहते हैं, कॉन्शियसनेस को बाहर की ओर बहाते रहते हैं. Flow of the energy is always towards the external stimuli. We keep on engaging ourselves to dissipate the energy more and more. So in our surroundings, to catch different stimuli, and then to perform or to respond to them. So receiving, responding is going on continuously, the energy gets dissipated, and this is happening day to day to us. So we are not able, or you can say we are not able to get sufficient time to condense ourselves on a single locus. And in case of all of you, you are able to do that just one day before the examination. Condensation of the energy at a single locus, and in that case also a lot of students are engaged in making the chits. कोशिश करते हैं कि क्या possible answer पूछा जाएगा, बना लेते हैं, याद नहीं हो रहा, so उसमें लग जाते हैं. Instead of wasting your so many of the energy in so many nonsense works, you should concentrate yourself at each and every point, at each and every movement. That's why I always say you should be concentrated enough in the class itself. If you are attentive enough and you are listening what is being taught at that particular moment, you won't need it later on. जिस मोमेंट पे आप हैं उस पर खुद को एकाग्र करना सीख लो, तो आपको बाद में कहीं नहीं जाना पड़ेगा. Not even maybe if you are in a state like last day, you are not able to revise anything, still you would be having everything in your mind, because at that point when you were studying that thing, you were completely condensed or concentrated. So the concentration power of students is very important for the learning, for each and everything, not only theoretical portions in all, but also in the application portion also. Once you are doing something practically, that too needs a concentrated way. If you are dissipating your energy in some other things also, your practical experimentation is not going to be successful. So condensation of the energy at a given or a single locus is very important, and that should be done at each and every moment. So whatever task you will be taking, that will be fulfilled and accomplished at its fullest. हो सकता है कि किसी फंक्शन में परफॉर्म करने जा रहे हैं, तब भी अगर आप उसी मोमेंट पे खुद को कंसंट्रेट कर रहे हैं तो वो काम बहुत अच्छा होगा. If you are not able to do that, you are not able to shut your senses from the distractions and dissipations of energy, you won't be able to give your 100% to any of that task. So at a particular moment, you should try to have more and more concentration of the energy at a single locus. That is dhyan. Dhyan और कुछ नहीं है, concentration of energy at a single locus. That's the experiment when we try to condense the sun rays through a lens and the paper gets burnt. एक जगह पे आपने अपनी ऊर्जा को concentrate कर दिया तो कोई भी चीज impossible नहीं रहेगी. It's achievable and it's proficiently achievable. That means accomplishment, successful as 100%. So that it's required for everyone to have the success in every work, whatever we are going to have. Now the next is centrality of thought. What we have understood here, the thought is in the central, because knowledge is the basic thirst or quest. I explained the Yama-Nachiketa Samvad, that Nachiketa is such a small boy, still having the curiosity to know about the deepest or the highest possible questions of one's own existence. So in our system, our tradition has the centrality of thought. Indian knowledge tradition explains synthesizing thought moving towards transcendental state. In this system knows the peak of conflicts. This point I have explained before also, that in Western system the conflicts are, or you can say they try to explore the conflicts. So they passed from that journey like man versus God, man versus nature, then man versus man, then man versus woman, and so many concepts, and slowly they are reaching to some other subtle aspects. But in our tradition, the highest possible conflict is of the conflict of human against oneself. खुद के साथ जब झगड़ा है तो वो सबसे बड़ा संघर्ष है. And I explained you this thing from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, that the basic root cause, why Krishna was forced to explain so deeply all the things, because Arjun had the conflict within himself. So conflict of a human being with oneself is the highest possible conflict, and that has been dealt in Indian tradition only. Indian knowledge tradition has large body of compositional literature which requires interpretation and understanding. Still, we are having so many manuscripts that are untouched. Nobody is able to read, nobody is available to understand or actually explore them, because uh, our generations are lacking the complete support of that background. Education ही पूरी wipe out हो गई. So we are having a lot of manuscripts which are still in an untouched or undiscovered state. If you try to investigate them, you try to put your efforts through them, you will get a lot of knowledge which is right now, which will give you marvelous, or you can say kind of mysterious results also, जो अभी तक आपने सोचा भी नहीं होगा, not even conceptualized by a lot of people. That is the level available in Indian corpus. The preservation of knowledge is done in the minds of trained disciples. That's why I told you that we are preserving the things, not in the CDs, not in the laptops, not in the systems or artificial devices or copies. Even in our tradition, for using something writing in notepad or in copy was also not appreciated too much. किसी को कॉपी में लिखना सिखाने के लिए बहुत अप्रिशिएशन नहीं दिया जाता था, कारण you were supposed to keep it inside your mind. So the training was like the knowledge should be inside of us. So we were trained in that sense only, in that way only. So different permutations of the text were passed down, because each and every student right now is having a different type of attention in the class. Some are writing something else, some are studying something else, and some are focused on the content which is being taught. So as per the efforts put by the scholar, different permutations came up, because if you are listening something incompletely or partially, selective hearing, कुछ कुछ सुन लिया बस काफी है. So if you are doing that thing, you won't be able to grasp the whole of the thing. So your knowledge will be that only. If a person is completely attentive and understanding everything completely, that knowledge will be different. So maybe the content which I am teaching right now is the same for everyone, but in the examinations whatever would be presented by all of you would be different for everyone. Why? Because everyone would be having that kind of knowledge that is received by them as per their own potentials and efforts. So this is something which is giving us the example of different permutations. एक ही text के बहुत permutations हैं, बहुत सारे variations हैं. As per the understanding of the scholar, we are having different permutations of the same text. In that sense itself, I told you Ramayana and Mahabharata is having a much more grand corpus. जितना अभी हमने सोचा नहीं है. The published version which is available in the bookstores is a very limited one, and if you go to the libraries, especially Samsthan libraries, deemed universities like Sanskrit Samsthan, if you go and visit the libraries, then you would find you would get a much grand corpus of the same text, Mahabharata and Ramayana, and a lot of permutations would be there, and there would be difference in the stories also. So this is the root cause. Once the knowledge is a part of a conscious entity, it is going to be variated. That's why it is not a museum piece. It's a dynamic, it changes. This is the basic reason. In Indian knowledge tradition, knowledge is greatest purifier. This is the greatest or the biggest difference. In our system, in our tradition, we have been given this understanding that knowledge is purifier. It purifies the mind. once you understand that how to link pind with the Brahmand, and once you understand that whatever is present outside, that is just my own extension, you would be able to relate that your bhavas with the bhavas of others. Automatically you would be much more sensitive, much more sensible, and that way is going to purify you. शुद्ध करना नहाना नहीं है. External purity can be made available to all of us through different possible means, but the internal purity comes when you possess the knowledge which actually makes you or which actually enables you to link yourself with the others. अगर दूसरे के दुख से खुद को जोड़ पाने की क्षमता नहीं है, मतलब आप मनुष्य नहीं हैं. That's why मनुष्य की when I define the term define मनुष्य, I told you 4 characteristics: sensitivity, sensibility, contemplation, thinking. These are the 4 characters which are identifying a मनुष्य. मननात् मनुष्यः जायते. मनन करने की वजह से हम मनुष्य कहलाते हैं, because we have the capacity or capability to contemplate and think. That's why we are known as manushya. So once you are able to relate yourself or to link up yourself with others, that means the knowledge is purifying you. So in our tradition, knowledge is sophisticating our cognitive apparatus to link yourself with all the entities. But in the Western understanding, knowledge is power. In schools, we had the quotation on the blackboards. Knowledge is power, something like that. ये Western method है teaching का, जो हम पर लाद दिया गया. So in Western tradition, knowledge is power. If they have the knowledge, they will use it to dominate over the others. If you have the knowledge, you will create some insecticide or pesticide to abolish other creatures. If you are having the knowledge, you will create that thing through which you can destroy the others. So there are so many destructions going on, and nobody is having any control. After doing so many workshops and conferences of so many crores also, nobody is able to stop the war. Why? अगर इतना सही जा रहा है सिस्टम, तो ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? Because they consider that knowledge is power, and power gives us to dominate over others, to destroy the other things. And that's the basic difference between the conceptual understanding which comes or gets reflected in the behavior also. So in Indian system, people were trained to have that level of purification from within, through which they become enabled to link up themselves with others. So at that level, so that they if they consider their existence important, they must consider the existence of other beings also as important, or same importance should be given to both of them or all of them. But this doesn't happen in the Western understanding. Indian mind constructs the reality, it doesn't measure of the reality. Construction of the reality and measurement of the reality. That's the difference. Why I explained in the lectures, like you cannot measure a limitless entity with a limited instrument. So we understood that we cannot measure out limitless with unlimited measuring instrument. That's why we were not focused to measure out the reality. हमने उसको नापने की कोशिश नहीं की. There is a narration for this thing, measuring out the reality. In one of the Puran, there is a story that once Shiva is saying to Brahma and Vishnu to enter into a pipe, or you can say column, just like a pillar column, okay, to enter into that column and to find out the beginning and the end point. They entered, they tried to find out the beginning and the end. They were keep on moving for manvantaras. कल्प मनवंतर बीत गए, दोनों उसमें घूमते रहे. Why? Because the column which was visible to them, that was a part of a cycle. Suppose this is a cycle and I give you this much of the part as a column, I show you. बाकी ना दिखाऊं, बाकी सब कुछ छुपा दूं, सिर्फ इतना सा हिस्सा दिखाऊं. This is the visible part, and I say you enter into that column, you find out its beginning and the end point. You after the efforts put for Manvantaras and Kalpas, Brahma and Vishnu returned back and met at the same point again, and then went back to Shiva that we were not able to find out the beginning and the end point. हमें नहीं मिला, तो वो हंसकर यही बोले कि है ही नहीं तो कहाँ से मिलेगा, बिकॉज इट्स अ साइकिल, इट्स सिक्लिकल इन नेचर, जहाँ से चले थे वापस वहीं पहुँचना था. So automatically the concept of measuring the reality is not in Indian corpus and in Indian mind and in Indian understanding. We try to construct the reality by keeping these segmentation. This was the construction of Shiva. इतना सा दिखा दिया और बता दिया अंदर जाओ. You can construct it from here also. You can construct it from here also. So space time is not the focused attention, spatio-temporal units which are so dominating right now in investigation, they are not the point of focus, because we know that we can trespass them. That's why we worship Mahakal. काल को trespass करता है जो, वो महाकाल है. This Kal Tattva is a part of transitional phase. Shuddha Ashuddha Tattvas, Maya, Kala, Vidya, Rag, Niyati and Kal. After transitional phase, we can move ahead to the Shuddha Tattvas. That means Shiva, Shakti, Sadashiva, Ishwar and Shuddha Vidya. So we know that existence is that existence which is actually surpassing the transitional phases of space and time. We already know it, and that's why we had the Mahamrityunjaya mantra, Mahamrityunjaya jap, or you can say the story of Mrityunjaya also. But the one who actually wins over the death. Kal एक mental construct है. Time is just a mental construct. If you start counting, then it exists. If you stop counting, it will vanish. So basically, time is a mental construct. If you are calculating your age right now at this particular locus of time and space, coordinates of time and space, कि आप 30 साल के हैं, आप 20 साल के हैं, आप 22 साल के हैं, आप ऐसा सोच रहे हैं, on the basis of what? On the basis of the appearance of the luminosity of the sun and then disappearance of the luminosity of the sun. One day, one night, right? The same thing will vary if you go to some other coordinates of space and time. Even in Antarctica location, Arctic locations, जहाँ 6 महीने luminosity नहीं है, so आप कैसे measure करेंगे? That means आप वहाँ रहना शुरू कर दीजिए, आपकी age तो different हो जाएगी. Your age will be completely different. Even in that stage जहाँ हम अभी हैं, that means the Parthiv and. If you move from the Parthiv and to Prakrit and, that means Jala Tattva, aquatic life, then Agni Tattva, fire dominating, then Vayu, then Akash, move on the elements which are available in the Prakrit and, then automatically spatial temporal coordinates are going to change drastically. You won't be able to calculate your age in the measurement or standards of the available in the Parthivand. So, conclusion is our understanding about the time right now is very limited. Time or Kal is nothing but it is a mental construct. If you construct it, you would be in that. If you won't construct it, it would vanish. You stop counting, so you won't be getting aged. If you stop counting, you are always young. So that's why it's a popular saying like age is just a number. क्यों? इसीलिए क्योंकि वो mental construct है, उसका एक real existence नहीं है. वो एक ट्रांजिशनल फेज है जिसको हम क्रॉस कर सकते हैं if we try to magnify our own concentration or consciousness or powers. So, Indian mind is focused on constructing the reality, not in measuring the reality. After this, the language as the primary sciences. In Indian corpus, the tradition is homogeneous and continuous. First thing is that we have a homogeneous and continuous tradition. There is no break. A lot of people think like right now, like we are the part of NIT, so we automatically presume like nobody is studying the Shastras. ऐसा नहीं है. A lot of scholars are still studying the Shastras, and still the compositions and literature is being created. We don't know, that is our limitation. So the link, or you can say the continuity is still maintained, and this is the character for the preservance and availability of the corpus right now also. So it's a homogeneous and continuous tradition. The text of Indian knowledge systems are primary, secondary and commentary. You need to remember these things. We have three possible types of text. First is a primary source, primary text like Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puran, Vedas. They are primary sources. When you create something on the basis of them, like creative literature, like Kalidas created their own literature, Abhigyan Shakuntalam, Meghadutam, so many variations. So that became a secondary literature. So it's a kind of secondary literature. And if you comment on that, that means if you try to write a commentary on Kalidas Abhigyan Shakuntalam to explain it more elaborately or to explain it from a different perspective, that will be a commentary text. So we are having a complete lineage of primary, secondary and commentary text. Indian intellectual tradition is focused on the discourse or analysis of language, and this discourse is inclusive of all. It incorporates everything. It deals with the sounds, phonemes, syllables, words, sentences, morphological and inflectional constructs, along with metaphysical understanding. They do not leave any segment behind. किसी एक को छोड़कर किसी एक पर फोकस नहीं हुए. They included the physical aspects also, then they included the metaphysical aspects also, which is not being done by current practices. Indian knowledge tradition starts with multiplicity and ends in single explanatory principle, that is Advaita. So here very important two words. One is Advaita, second is Advaya. What is Advaita? When we consider that there is only one single principal element or ultimate highest reality, that is Advaita. Just like I told you, at the peak of the mountain, we receive Rishikharastha Jnana, unified knowledge. And the same is reflected in the discourse of language also. Multiplicity of physical aspects converts at single metaphysical entity, that is known as Shabda Brahma. So if you are being asked the ultimate state of the Vak Tattva, another word which can be used for the ultimate peak state of the Vak Tattva is Shabda Brahma. Brahma means the consciousness, but the consciousness in what form? In the form of a Shabda. So Vak Tattva is one word which was given by the Rig Veda itself, because the corpus deals with the Vak Sukta. And Shabda Brahma is another word which has been laid down by the Darshanas, that a level of consciousness which is in the form of Shabda, that is also the ultimate reality. So for the ultimate reality with reference of Bhasha, it is Vak Tattva or Shabda Brahma. The world is the construct of word. This is the statement available in the Vakyapadiyam of Bhartrihari, same text I explained you in the previous lectures. And in that they say that the Jagat Shabd ka Vivarta hai. So world is the construct of the word. If there is no word, there would be no world. If I want to address something, I have to nominate it or I have to name it. If I don't have a name, the existence of that thing would be annihilated. Nobody would be able to address or know that thing. So there are two types of worlds. One which gets manifested from ultimate reality, and second which we create in our own mind. This is very important. That's why language creates the reality. If you are composing something, a creative literature, you are creating your own novel, you are writing your own novel. There are so many writers, good writers, Chetan Bhagat and so many. You may be familiar with the names. You yourself can be a good writer. So if you are writing and creating something very unique, so automatically what is happening? Language is creating the reality. आपकी भाषा एक कहानी तैयार कर रही होगी. So automatically we create the reality in our mind, then only we present it, or then only we present in the either in the artistic expressions in the form of a script or written version, or through Vaikari. You are some people are very fond of narrating the stories to their friend. शाम को बैठ जाएंगे चाय के साथ कहानी सुनाने लगेंगे. Very fond of creating and narrating the stories by themselves. Self-made narrators. So they are also they also are creating the reality, and one is the ultimate reality. From ultimate reality we are in a state to receive the manifested entities, so many things. Western linguistics studies only Vaikari Vak, while Indian linguistics deal with the Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama and Vaikari, all of them. I have already explained in detail that in Indian understanding we have 4 levels of Vak, starting from the subtlest one, reaching to the grossest one, Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama and Vaikari. While in Western traditions or in modern understanding we are much focused on the Vaikari itself. So this is the greatest difference. Now you need to have an understanding about Advait in one line. Advait is conversing point, unified state. Advait means if there is a appearance of duality, but there is only one. Just like if you intake alcohol, what you feel? There is something which is dual. मुझे दो दिखाई रहा है क्या? एक ही चीज दो दिख रही है. Is there the presence of two? No. But it feels or it gives you a feel of appearance of duality. So if there is something which appears dual but it is one, that is Advaya. In the examination I will ask the question, what is the difference between Advaita and Advaya? Advait, there is only one ultimate existence. No appearance dominates. But in Advait, there is the dominancy of appearance. It may appear dual, but it is one. That is the difference between Nigam Shastra and Agam Shastra. Nigam Shastra, that means Veda or Nigam. From Nigam itself, we have Darshan, Vedant Darshan. In that Darshan, the term Advait is used to identify ultimate reality. So they nominate Brahma as Advait Tattva. But in Kashmir Shaiva Darshan, which is coming from the Agama Shastra, we have Advaya word, and they are saying that reality is Ardhanarishwara. So they appear dual. There is duality. There is an appearance that there are two elements, two tattvas as an ultimate one, but still they are one. You cannot separate your right side from your left side. If you try to take a revenge from your right side by your left side, you cannot do. ऐसा हो सकता है कि एक आधा हिस्सा आपका दूसरे आधे हिस्से से अलग होकर के चला जाए? No. This is only one. But there is an appearance of duality. So, Ardhanarishwara concept, which is available in Agama Shastra, from where Kashmiri Shaiva Darshan is coming, has an understanding of ultimate reality as Advaya Tattva, while in Nigama Shastra, from which Vedanta Darshan is coming, they consider ultimate reality as an Advaita Tattva or Brahma as Advaita Tattva. This is the difference. So, for this lecture, this is sufficient. From the next lecture, we will discuss few more points to summarize the content of the course. Thank you.